Hello people, and welcome back to part 20 of Burgusia, the city's Skylines build guide. Every 10 episodes of this Let's Play, for those that don't know, because we have grown quite a few subscribers since the last one, we do a city tour to kind of recap on what we've done and what still needs to be completed, and where we're kind of heading off in future directions. Before we start, a huge thank you to everyone. We are now at 172 subscribers at the time of this video, which is absolutely mind-blowing. You guys have been absolutely smashing the likes and comments and sharing the videos. It's been just amazing. I would love to hit 200 before the end of the year, so I'm hoping we can get there. It's a little bit of a tough stretch to go up by 28 subscribers in the next 24 days or so. But anyway, enough of that. Let's have a little look at what we've managed to put together in Burgusia so far. This city is starting to come together ever so slowly. We've got lots of nice little detailed areas and some areas that still need detailing as well. We'll cover everything we've built up until the previous city tour, which was part 12. If you missed it, you can go ahead and recap that. We're not going to do the whole city, just up to where the last city tour left, and then cover everything in the last 8 episodes or so. So grab yourself a drink, sit back, and maybe hopefully you guys can find some kind of inspiration from Burgusia and implement it into your own cities. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay guys, so the last city tour ended at Braithwaite Square, which has now developed quite considerably from what it was. We've added in tram lines around this part of town, and these are all working really nicely. Let's have a look at a little look at some of the tram lines right here. So many people using them. You can see there's a couple of different lines that converge here. Just lots of people using the trams, and that's exactly what you want to see with your public transport, is just, you know, people choosing them instead of the cars, and it's working out really nicely. We've also got a lot of little paths flowing through this square now. Again, we used some of the vanilla park assets and expanded on them using the path that they use, just the regular dirt path. Added in a little bit of detail in here, kind of with the food trucks and the square, the picnic benches and the flower beds, and the tiling squares, and a little bit of a tree as a focus in the middle, just to help bring it to life a little bit more. We also have a mix of office zoning in here as well, which just kind of adds to that town square feel. You know, it's where people come to work, and it just helps break up that monotonous commercial and residential zoning, having a bit of office in here as well. We've also got a public library, which acts as a really nice front focal point. You see, with all the people waiting to get on the trams, it's just gives it that really busy town centre feel, which is exactly what we wanted to go for. And it's come together really nice with this part of town now. Further over to the south, we developed our first kind of larger residential park. So this place just sits in with a bunch of residences. As you can see, we've got here a nice little ring pattern forming. We've got some commercial along the front here as well with our cycle lanes. We've got a lot of people coming and going in this part now. We also added in a lake, which was a long time subscriber wish to have lakes within the Let's Play series. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to get them in Fremwood, but we do have them in Burgusia finally, and it's not the only one in the city either. So I just want, this park obviously isn't finished yet. We've got a lot of empty space here that we can still do stuff with, but I wanted to give kind of a centralised focus of the park, of where people come to visit. You know, there's plazas here, there's a little climbing frame with a lot of people here as well, kind of children playing around. There's trampoline parks and kind of a little detailed gazebo section. This area turned out really nicely, and we made a bit of a feature out of a rock front here, and then had the paths flowing around it, and kind of, you know, some dense wooded areas. You know, there's people waiting for buses here as well, so again, it kind of achieved that really almost like hub, community hub kind of focus I was going for. And we've got some room left to detail yet, so we'll do that in an off-camera time lapse, I imagine, at some point. And then down over at Burgusia Lake, so you can see here is the town square. We had this little lakefront developing, and this place turned out really nicely as well. We had the traffic park here, which is one of the unique buildings, and that turned out really nicely as well. And then we got a load of nightlife along the lakefront here as well. This thing ended up looking really nice, and we've got kind of, again, that main focus that everything's built around. We have one of the unique plazas here that's got people milling around in it. Then there's some paths built around here, and then this is another little kind of office park that we've got in the middle. There's a post office here as well. You can still see we have some of these really boring empty green spaces around here that still need to be dealt with. So there's a touch more detail in this area that still needs to happen yet, but we will be getting there eventually. There's also some more commercial along the front here as well, and then a school just to serve the local residences. We have kind of a nice patterned residential area here, and these guys, oh, excuse me, these guys have some policies to kind of help level them up, and you see we get these really nice looking houses. So these are kind of relatively rich parts of town. You've got these big kind of almost like villas, and people have their own balconies and swimming pools around and whatnot. So this area turned out quite nicely. Again, there's still a touch more detail that needs doing. And you can also see as well, we kind of went for that private gated community feel. You know, you have to be pretty wealthy to live in this part of town. And then back towards the lake, this big rock feature actually spawns in with the map alongside these castle ruins, which are pretty cool looking. I thought we'd keep them in as kind of like a natural feature, almost like, you know, like a World Heritage site. It was kind of the feel I was going for it here. And then obviously on this side as well, we have our zoo. Now I really like the way that the zoo entrance turned out. So along this road that runs around the edge of the lake, we just have a little bypass here. There's a bus stop here as well that gets a lot of use. And then we've got all the fencing along the zoo, and then people enter it, and there's little kind of cafes and restrooms and souvenir shops. And then you hit a roundabout, and then you get the Monkey Palace, which kind of has all these palm trees around it, which I think is quite relevant in the theme. You know, there's palm trees in here on the outside as well. And then within these big tall redwoods here, we have like the birdhouse. So rather than just kind of placing the assets alongside the paths and just leaving them like that, I tried to make a little bit of a theme for each of the zoo attractions. Similarly over here as well with the sea life reserve, we kind of made like a little bit of a swamp feel here. You know, lots of kind of overgrowth in and around the water. And these paths that have the moss on them are really cool looking when you turn them into a bridge. I think these are these just the regular nature reserve paths? I think they are. But you know, you can just see, it just makes it look a lot more thematic, I think. And then we also have our buffalo and antelope. I think this is just the buffalo one, isn't it? Yeah, it is. Buffalo enclosure overlooking the lake, which is really cool as well. And then there's some more giraffe and flamingo stuff over here as well. So the zoo is at level, where is it? It's at level 5 now, so we've unlocked everything for it. Not all of the buildings in here yet. We still need to add some more in. You can see it is actually in a profit loss right now. It's costing us more to enter, but you know, these things never make vast amounts of money anyway. So I'm not too bothered about it, and money isn't really an issue right now. Until we begin building the downtown, which will cost us an absolute fortune. But that's not to matter. So the zoo is starting to look really cool now. And then there's also a path that feeds in right along the river here, and then loops all the way back around, and then joins up with a little kind of renewable green part of town that we've been working on. Still a lot more detailing to do here, but it is a start of something that's going to be able to sit alongside the highways. Then we also introduced the ferry stop here as well. So this guy collects people and then drops people. Obviously there's a bus stop here as well. So there's people changing to different transport lines to get around to the city as opposed to just using a car, which is really, I suppose, what you want. And you can see these guys are just taking this man-made river out. We join the river up with the main river, and then there's a number of buses, ferries moving in and around here. These are our farms, which are doing rather nicely now. We have reached level 5, which means we can place in the larger farm fields. So this place will need a little bit of renovation. You can actually think from a distance, this place kind of looks like it's on fire, with all the orange from the orange groves. But yeah, this place is looking pretty tasty now. They've also got some of the manufacturing buildings here as well. You know, these are all of the buildings that turn crops into different meats. There's a slaughterhouse here, kind of the milking parlour. So we're producing lots of different goods for the city, and people have a number of different ways to kind of actually use the crops that we produce. And then over to the adjacent town. We did cover this last episode. Not much hasn't changed here apart from the tram line coming through the middle right now. You can see this kind of just follows along it. All this is renewable green commercial. There's a really nice theme coming along here. We've got some nice houses starting to develop along here now as well, which is really cool looking. See some nice ones along here. Then we have a graveyard and a crematorium. Again, nothing too special. And then we do have a post office here as well, and a little bit of a kind of thematic shape and point to the front of the elementary school. We've got some like nice boxed-in trees using the park fences, and then some bushes along here as well. And we did that just to help separate it away from the main road a little bit, so you can tell just as you scan around that this is something, you know, particularly special. It isn't just plonked along the road like these buildings are. And then we have a little one-way system here, and we've developed a little park. This is where we put our first tram lines. And again, we can see how busy this place is now, with people using this path to jump across onto the ferries. And oh, it looks like those people just missed it. Unfortunate, but there is plenty of ferries on this line. So there are a lot of people coming and going using the public transport to get over to the island over there. So that's worked out really tasty. And then again, this park. I don't want to take this up to level 5. It's just a small one, using a plaza and kind of a cafe and the little info booth. Or I think that's the restrooms maybe. I think it is actually. Yeah, it is. So that turned out quite nicely. Then from here we have a little park, and again, no, nothing particularly special here. Just using that theme again of linking them up to different areas and using vanilla assets and expanding on them. And then we kind of reworked the bike path here to make it elevated all the way along the river. Because having it along the ground, it was all really bumpy and stuff, and you know, it was not really what you want to ride on when riding a bike. And then this splits off just further down the road into a police station and a train station, kind of a little overpass. Using the pedestrian pathways so people can cross over, and then so it ended up looking really nice actually. I'm quite happy with this. Again, along here we've just got some more residences, and then the bike path continues further down. We did a little bit of detail on the riverbank with some overgrowth and some rocks. Still needs a little bit more refining, I think, to make it look a bit more realistic. And then this bike path emerges out at the University of Burgusia Technology, which is really coming along now. This place is at level 4. Again, we can kind of just get a bit of a bird's eye view of it here, of what we're looking at. So it's right along the riverfront, and this place looks really special. Still got a bit more detail to do along the riverfront here. You can see we kind of made them a little, almost like riverside eatery, like a little outdoor shop. You got some dormitories here, some book clubs in the middle. There's a maintenance building down here as well. There's a cafeteria and some study halls and auditorium. So there is a road network flowing through here. It isn't all just paths. Then we placed in one of the vanilla park assets, and then some of the study areas. And we've got some little fountains here as well, and like another book club. I think this is the IT club actually. And then we've got the bookstore right along the front here. So with this front, we kind of made this almost like a hub of the university, like the main bit. So I think here we've got the these are the laboratories, and then we've got the police academy here as well. This big building in the middle, and this has got some kind of supplementary support buildings behind it. So we've got like a real centre of the university developing along here as well. And then this place also looks out onto the highway. As you can see here, there's a lot of different cars milling around, and then as you kind of drive along the highway, you know, you greet with these big grand buildings and a railway flowing alongside it as well. So this place looks really kind of important. And further down here as well, we've just got some more of the buildings. We have the commencement office here as well, with some horrendous terraforming. I need to go ahead and actually sort that out. Then we have our aquatic centre, which is, you know, kind of the team, the university team for aquatics, is also based within the campus as well. This thing looks really important and big as well, so it kind of, you know, it really draws the eye, especially when you're looking at this place from the river as well. And then we've got a little bit of a path that's kind of flowing around again. I thought I'd elevate it just because the terrain is a little bit uneven. and it just gives it a bit of a different feel when you've got a really small elevated path. And then right here is the School of Tourism and Travel, and this thing again, you know, placed right along the front of the highway here. It looks really important, and it just gives it that kind of big city feel, and that people are actually here to do something. It's not just more zoning. You do have a couple of unique buildings right here. So we are really close to hitting level 5 on this university, and then that's going to allow us to start our other university in the downtown, which will be the City University, and I've got some really nice plans to use monorail in that one as well. That's going to be really sweet, so I hope you guys are looking forward to that. And then just across the other side of the highway here, so crossing over, we have some just more suburbs with some schools in here, a little bit of commercial with some paths going through the middle, and this was just kind of show off, you know, another way of zoning using basic grid patterns and blocks. And then there's a little bit of kind of park life here, and some more cemeteries and crematoriums just to keep that demand going. And then there's also a toll road here, which feeds into a highway bypass road you can see flowing, but we'll cover that when we get to the start of it. So right now you can see this brings us back out at the town square, so let's head in the opposite direction here. So following these tram lines up, we obviously introduced these a couple of episodes ago, and then we came into a nice big park. We built a big square. I wanted to make a little bit of a theme, kind of a dramatic open space as we arrive at our baseball park, which is sitting in here now. So these things came with the campus expansion, and they are one of the varsity sports buildings that you can also place within a university campus to have that university kind of represent the team that plays there. We made a little bit of a tram interchange here, so you can see if we just leave this bit on 3-speed, this park still needs a lot of detailing. You can see I started here and then kind of moved on. So there is still a bit to do. But this tram interchange is working really nicely. You can see again, you know, this is where citizens can come and switch out onto different lines if they need to. There's a lot of activity happening around here. There's paths taking them to different areas, and it's starting to look pretty sweet in my opinion. I do like this tram interchange. Fun fact, if you want to build a tram interchange, there is a tutorial for one on the channel. It's not the same as this one. It's using kind of roundabouts and different one-way tram lines to allow people to switch over to different lines if they need to. But yeah, this is just one of the methods you can use. So if we leave the game on 3-speed and just kind of take a look at all the different trams coming in on the different lines, you'll see that just over time a lot of people kind of jump on different ones. So really cool looking interchange. I like it. It's working, and it's keeping a lot of people off the roads. Just to the right of our baseball park centre here, we have a bit more of a busy hub. We did a little bit more detail in here with some of the dark some of the detailing assets using the more beautification mod, I believe. And we come into kind of a real focused nightlife centre, and this place turned out really nicely. We did an episode on micro detail in here as well, and I think that was the most recent episode. Again, using stuff from the more beautification mod to make almost like a backyard, kind of like a storage trash rubbish pit for the shops that are here. You know, obviously, you know, bars produce a lot of waste through beer bottles and food and whatnot, so they have all their big industrial waste bins here as well. And we've got kind of this alleyway feel going on with this park. So there is actually a park placed within the middle of all these zonings. If I pop it off, you can see it. So there's commercial zoning in here, and then if we go ahead into here as well, there's also a park, which is really cool. And obviously we've unlocked all the park assets now, so we managed to place some of these things in. Again, we got kind of that gazebo feel. There's a few kiosks here as well. There's a very small bike rack here. Chessboard, plaza, cafes, restrooms, and again some more micro detail in here using the fences from the oil industry to kind of box them off to make it look as though it belongs to these two buildings here. So there is kind of a real focused detail session going on here, and it turned out really, really nicely. I do really like this part of town, and you guys enjoyed it as well. That video did really well. And obviously we've got kind of a big main street coming up here as well, up to the Ziggurat Garden, which is one of the unique buildings. This thing attracts tourists and visitors. And then we also did a touch of detailing alongside a little tram roundabout here. And you can see this is linked up back to the residences near the residential park. And then a lot of people come and go over here. The trams actually just kind of come around in. You can see there's lots of people getting off and actually using the tram lines and using these paths to get around. So you can imagine if these paths weren't here, they would have to walk all the way around or get a car. So this is just making people walk about the city a lot easier. Then we also did a little bit of detailing on the tram line here. See it follows back. We've got some nice little bridge that comes down here into some trees. And then these guys have got hedges all along the way. And then this guy comes back out onto the main road. And then he follows up back into the tram interchange. So really happy with the way this area turned out. All the public transports and the parks and the services are working exactly as intended. And it's a little bit raised as well. You can see we did a bit of terraforming. So again, it just kind of helps bring that more diversity into your city, which is always appreciated in the long run. So yeah, still more detail to do here, and then alongside each side of it we just have some more commercial. And I probably might turn this into nightlife at some point. I'm not hugely keen on the regular commercial buildings. Like, these ones are okay, but I just think stuff like this doesn't look particularly great, I don't think. And yeah, so that's kind of the baseball park. And then heading north from the baseball park, we arrive into our green housing. So these are high density residential blocks that have had the renewable green housing policy applied to their district. And this is how they turn out. They really do look really sweet. And if you surround them with a lot of parks and greenery, you get a really nice feel. Yeah, really like this. So coming back in from the tram interchange, the main road flows down through here and up to a little park plaza. And again, we've got a little community pool here. And then these tram lines flow in various different directions along here. We've also got a little bit of a cut through down here as well, right behind the houses, which I think looks really sweet. It gives it that really kind of dense feel. And then this line just emerges amongst here as well. We've got people waiting in this alleyway to catch a tram. Here comes one for them right now. So yeah, worked out really nicely. Then over here, back at this plaza, we have some more low density renewable green housing with a bridge back over to the area we covered earlier. We've also got a little bit of just a very subtle amount of detail in here, I find. You've got the kind of the path right through the middle with a couple of different entry and exit points off it. We do get a fair few people using this and then actually jumping on this this little pedestrian bypass, I suppose, is that the word? I think it's a bypass, over onto this side of town, where we have a nicely detailed school park. I really like the way this turned out. Add some nice bushes, a little bit of detail in here with some of the playground assets and a couple of benches. Just some bushes alongside, and if you kind of put bushes alongside your paths, it really helps highlight them and give them a nice feel. And then we did the same here, but with hedges from the city park assets. And then we get a lot of people coming in here as well, so you can see the paths are getting use. And the idea here is that there's also a playground here as well, is that if you attend the elementary school, then you would also attend that high school as well. It was kind of the feel we're going for. And then directly opposite here we have our first amusement park. This place obviously isn't nearly finished yet. There's still a lot more detailing to do. It's only level 3, I think. Yeah, level 3. So we've still got a few more assets to add in, but you can see we've got all the room planned out for it. We've got a nice big open space here to go ahead and add some of the stuff in. But that will all be coming in future episodes, most likely time lapses. Then again, just more green housing here. I really like the way these things look. They do produce less tax income, but they also use less electricity and produce less garbage as well. But they do look so nice. Like, just having that as a residential street, it just looks great. I really like it, especially mixed in with these like grassy banking side roads as well. I really do like the way that they look. And then something similar again here as well. We have the Friendly Neighbourhood Park unique building. And this guy comes off in a couple of different directions with some paths, and then again just some regular commercial zoning along here as well. And then we also have a little bit of a fitness park here. There is a sauna, there's a police station there, a couple of baseball parks, and plenty of walking paths for citizens to use. And then you can see that the tram line that follows around the back of these houses here eventually re-emerges out here, and then comes back in here and then down alongside the city. So this area, again, you know, there's still a lot more for me to do, kind of expanding our amusement park and probably a touch more detailing to get rid of spaces like these that are here. Like, I really don't like these kind of dead empty spaces that happen to spawn in. But yeah, there's still a fair bit for me to do in there and show off to you guys. And then from this roundabout, we have a little access road back onto this highway, which is kind of the slip highway here. Which goes through the toll road and then back on to the main highway. So that worked out rather nicely. So carrying on heading north, you guys have obviously seen this before. This is our forest industry. However, we have reworked the roundabout ever so slightly. So this was just an on the floor roundabout that came straight off the highway and then just went off in 3 different directions. But it was getting a lot of bad traffic trying to come through here. So what we have done is just built a bypass road straight over the top. As far as I'm aware, this design comes from Imperator, who is a Cities Skylines YouTuber. He makes some really interesting designs, and this is one of them, to have the bypass road cutting over the roundabout, and then just 2 slip lanes on either side to help people get into the forest industry. So the forest industry is level 10 now. This thing is level 5, sorry. This thing is fully maxed up, and when we do get some more industrial demand, we have plenty of room to expand along here and probably into here as well. So that's going to be really cool. We've also got our kind of maintenance buildings down here too, kind of like the sawmills. Then continuing down this road, we emerge into kind of a little, I don't know what the name of this is actually. This is just kind of to replace a roundabout. It just keeps traffic flowing using a variety of one-way roads. You can kind of see just by following the arrows how people actually get into here. You see, you know, traffic just keeps flowing in and around it. It's not too bad looking. And then up this road here, these are our forest industry processing buildings. So right here, you know, you've got the engineering wood plant, the biomass pellet plant, a sawmill, engineered wood plant again. So there's a couple of different assets here. So these things are obviously quite pollutive, so I don't want them in and amongst the trees. They do just have a little separate section for themselves that again probably needs some detailing just to help kind of separate it and make it known as to what it is. Across the road here we have our detailed power stations. So these are temporary until we unlock the nuclear power stations, which will be our primary source of power eventually. So the idea here was that you come off a road here, and again it's all very fenced off. We did some detailing with railways. Obviously these railways don't go anywhere and there's no trains that come down them, but it's almost as if they're kind of, you know, serving these industrial buildings that are based around here. We did a little bit of detailing with some freight containers and some kind of wood pallets and boxes and barrels and, you know, bags of gravel, just kind of generic concrete stuff, and you get a real industrial feel with the rail line right behind the buildings here. So that's what I was going for, and it's turned out quite nicely. Then across the road here we have kind of a nice little office thing, and then I used some of the unique buildings here. I think this is the Robotics Institute, which will eventually accompany our nuclear power stations as they sit along here, but for right now we're just using the oil. And I also tried to make a little bit of a transformer, which turned out not too badly. You know, if you drive past a power station in real life, these things have huge amounts of power lines coming out of them, and then they distribute across the city. But I'll probably rework this ever so slightly when we do unlock the nuclear power plant stations. They'll be able to look a lot more impressive. And then there's a little bit of part detail in here. And this industrial area also has its own interchange. It's very small. This is just my own version of a really compacted industrial interchange. So obviously, you don't have the room to really do these big sweeping curves. So this is just a really compact version. I might do a tutorial on this maybe. Maybe we'll see how that goes. But this thing works really nicely. If we just kind of get a bird's eye view here, you can kind of see how cars are flowing over a period of time. And then this access just comes off here as well. And then it goes over our canal, which is where our water pumps are, and a nice railway bridge. So the canal just makes this place look a lot more industrial, which looks really nice, I think. And then up here is our garbage processing for the entire map. This place has obviously direct highway access down here, which is really important for your garbage. You want them to be able to get in and around the map, either down this way, over here as well, and then back onto the highway, so they can get across the entire map and eventually the entire city. You can see we still have a ton more building room over in this map, which is really cool. Okay, moving on. So you guys have seen this. These are our factory areas. We covered these in the last episode. We've added in a little tank reservoir, which again I think looks quite industrial, as you're kind of driving along these big bypass roads here. There's a couple of office buildings in here as well alongside the new factory. We can't start producing from these yet until we have plastics, which comes from the oil industry, and we don't have oil just yet. So these guys are just turned off. You can see they've got these icons here. Building is turned off, so it's not costing us anything per week to keep them running. And likewise with the train cargo stations, these guys are turned off because they're not actually connected up to the external rail lines just yet of the map, because they are over here and you can see them just in the distance here. These are the external connections for trains that come with Marin Bay, so we're a little while away from them just yet. And then I think the last thing that we built was in last episode, which is our new cargo hub office park. So this is kind of functioning as these will be eventually replaced with cargo and rail hubs right here. You can see we've made room here as well. This rail line that comes over the highway feeds out from the cargo hubs, and then it comes over. We've got a little bit of a switch here, which is a nice little pattern, I think. This probably will get clogged up when the cargo trains start coming through, but we'll see. We might have to rework it, but for right now I think it works. So last episode we built our cargo area, and the idea behind the office parks was that these would be like the head offices of like companies like Maersk, kind of the big global freight companies. This is kind of where they're based, alongside the river, and we have a little bit of an interchange here as well. There's also a little bit of commercial around here as well. I thought a bit of commercial would be appropriate for people on their lunch break. That kind of coming in around here. I really do like the way that this place is looking. And then off camera I've reworked this road a little bit here, and we now have a train station which has just been added in, and then this just flows all the way back down alongside the highway. You can see here's a train now. Not vast amounts of people using it yet, but to be honest, people don't really have that much of a reason to travel here just yet. There isn't that many jobs. But there will be eventually, and you can see we've left room for the rail line to continue alongside the highway and further into our downtown, which is going to reside alongside these shores here, and then alongside here as well. So lots of downtown stuff to still do, but yeah, it is really starting to come together now, this city. I am starting to enjoy it. And my mistake, before we finish up, we also worked on our prison island. So this thing is sandwiched in between the island here and the mainland. This is a really nice idea from Joseph, one of the subscribers, who suggested that we use this little bit of land here. It was naturally made, we've just trimmed it up into this shape. And then we have a little kind of elevated bridge here again, which I think adds to that kind of security theme. Like there is only kind of one way in and out of this island. Then we have a prison here. There's also a police headquarters and a couple of office buildings alongside a regular warehouse. It's like a little storage yard, which again isn't really relevant. I think it's just kind of a nice bit of detailing to have alongside here as well. We also have the police helicopter quarters, which comes with the Disasters DLC. And also our ferry depot is alongside here as well. So I think that's kind of an appropriate place to have it. But yeah, this island ended up looking really nice. It was a great idea from Joseph to use this. We detailed it with a lot of kind of thick redwoods to kind of, you know, let people know that, you know, this is obviously a very high secure island. You can't see in or out of it. And it ended up looking really sweet with the highway flowing over this place as well. We got a really nice design on here this time. Super happy with that. So guys, that is going to do it for today's episode and the end of the city tour. I hope you guys are liking it. I am really enjoying building on this city and in this map. There's still plenty more to do, and you guys can feel free to get involved at any point with any ideas or suggestions on improvements of what we can do. Please feel free to leave a comment below. Again, a huge thank you for all the support that this series has received. You have no idea how much it means. To be on 172 subscribers now is just crazy. Did not expect that at all. Thank you so much for your support. It is just incredible. I'll leave it there. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, a like is very much appreciated below. Equally as much if you don't like the city tour videos, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. I'm going to leave you with a tour of what we've just covered, kind of a nice aerial view so you guys can kind of see how each individual asset is placed within the city. But that's going to be enough from me. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.
Let me try.